Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Welcome to Arts and Lifestyle Wednesday on Danny Clinkscale's Reasonably Irreverent Commentary. And, of course, our Arts and Lifestyle Wednesday is brought to you by the Exit Room of Lee Summit. Go out there and Lee Summit and enjoy yourself. It's a great venue. It's a lot of fun. It's a great way to take a group or have a girls' night out or whatever and listen to the commercial and get the details and get a discount, too. But it's time, as we do every other week, to explore diversity and become eclectic and do all those things regarding music with Timothy Finn from In Kansas City Magazine. And, of course, you can hear him on Thursdays with John Hart at 90.9 The Bridge for an hour at 4 o'clock. That's always great stuff. They play new area music and talk about shows and do the kind of things that we do here. And today we'll venture into areas and reprise a conversation about Ken Burns' country music documentary, which we've seen all of now. We didn't watch it together, but we watched it separately together. We went to separate high schools together. That's an old phrase that used to be used when I was younger. But also a review of Hart and Joan Jett, which wrapped up the Starlight season last night. And as usual, we look ahead to some of the shows that are coming up in the next week and maybe give you a nugget or two about things to see that you would never have known if we hadn't done that. So that's all in the mix. Our musical stew comes next right here on Arts and Lifestyles Wednesday, presented by The Exit Room on Danny Clinkscale's Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Join in. Looking for a truly unique escape from your normal entertainment or corporate team-building regimen? Stay tuned for an exclusive offer only for Reasonably Irreverent listeners. I'm excited to tell you about an extraordinary destination, The Exit Room, located in the heart of beautiful downtown Lee Summit. The Exit Room is a distinctive entertainment option that offers a cool alternative to the normal couples night out, family get-togethers, and corporate team-building events. The Exit Room is a one-of-a-kind boutique escape room catering to special occasions and corporate team-building events and is unmatched in the Kansas City metro. With 5 individually designed and varied escape room adventures, your party or employees can unplug from their electronic world, interact with one another, match wits, and ultimately escape the humdrum of the ordinary. The Exit Room adventures cross decades and centuries and create fascinating fun. I know the owners well. They are local folks, their staff is warm and friendly, their lobby is inviting and beautiful, and their adventures are award-winning. Check online. There are over 1,000 reviews, and note that they are a rare 5-star ranked business. Visit their website and Facebook page, and any of my listeners who books online at theexitroomkc.com using the promo code Clinkscale19 gets 10% off any ticket purchase. The Exit Room in Lee Summit. Unplug, interact, and escape.
Before you spend your time and money going after an MBA, ask yourself why. Is it so you can tell people you got your MBA? So you can add a line to your CV? So you can call it a CV instead of a resume? Truth is, any MBA will do that. On the other hand, if your goal is to learn how to successfully manage and grow a business with real-world insights from experienced professionals, well, consider getting your MBA from Park University. Our low student-to-teacher ratio gives you personalized attention. And our face-to-face and online classes offered in 8-week terms are designed with working professionals like you in mind. No wonder the Kansas City Business Journal ranks Park University as the top MBA program in the area. Classes begin June 10th at all 4 KC area locations: Parkville, Downtown, Independence, and Lenexa. Visit park.edu to get started.
I was duped, and I recommend you be next. For better or worse, the ultra-realistic impression of me sits now in my wife's office to spook her on a daily basis. So what is Doob? D-O-O-B. It's the keepsake of a lifetime, a 3D-generated, incredibly lifelike figurine. 66 cameras take an image at exactly the same moment in any pose, and state-of-the-art 3D technology transforms that into exact replicas of you, anyone you know or love, a pet, whomever is close to your heart. Create lifetime memories with a Doob. Visit their Facebook page at Doob 3D Kansas City, or better yet, see their incredible creations. Visit their location down on the plaza in the heart of it at 231 West 47th Street in KC Mo. Doob, be next. Tim, always good to visit. A little tear in the eye from last night as the Starlight Theater season comes to a close with the Hart and Joan Jett show. We'll get to that in just a little bit. We touched on starting to watch together separately the country music documentary by Ken Burns, and I've watched all of them now except for number 2, which somehow we missed, and I think I did. I think I deleted it somehow one time, and but it's back now. So just as a whole, now that you've seen the whole thing, what did you think of Ken Burns' effort this time around?
I enjoyed it a lot. I've heard some complaints about it, and I mean, nothing. When you tackle a subject that broad, you can't be comprehensive even over the course of 17 hours or
right.
So I wasn't expecting it to be. It ended a little oddly, like right at 1996. So there's a 20-year gap between when it ended, and a lot has happened in country music since then. They never really touched upon the whole rap in country, or just a lot of other trends that have happened. And
maybe he felt like country ended in 1996.
Well, I guess, but also when I mean, I wonder when he stopped, filming and interviewing, because some of those interviews obviously are pretty old. Merle Haggard, who died a few years ago, was featured. So it had to end sometime. I guess I was a little surprised. Some people were really bothered by that. It didn't bother me, but it just seemed like that was a peculiar place to choose to stop. And any complaints I have are nitpicking. I like Marty Stewart. I think he had a lot of good things to say, but he was in there a lot.
He was.
And
they did finally, we talked about it, they did finally give him his little patches of not just talking, but showing himself and
basically
and
validating why he was in it so much.
Right.
Yeah, and he deserves it. He's a not just a great musician, but a kind of a historian of the genre. So, I liked it, and I'll probably watch some of it again. I mean, I thought the photographs and the old footage of performers was just stunning, and a lot to take in.
No question. Another great effort for Ken Burns, and he's covered a lot of different activities and genres. You always kind of wonder what will be next. Starlight Theater, your favorite venue. How would just an overarching look at the season? How did you think the season was?
I'd have to go back. I saw several shows. It's always a good mix of. They do a lot of like shows last night, kind of heritage acts, bands that were popular 20, 30, 40 years ago. So I think that's primarily their lineup, but they also had a lot of, younger bands come in. So it's a nice mix. It's the perfect compromise between Sprint Center or especially Sandstone. I mean, if you're going to have 7,000 or 8,000 people, that's the place to have it, because that's too small for Sprint. Plus, I much prefer outdoor venues, assuming the weather's good. And that place, the sound, I don't think I've ever heard a show where the sound was bad. It's been mediocre sometimes, but that's usually the fault of the sound guy. It's never the venue's fault, not when you're outside. So, and everything else about it's just so convenient, and the setting is just glorious. There's no bad seats, really. I mean, you can be a little too far away, but the sound is never bad, no matter where you are. Yeah,
the only quibble I guess I have with it is that, the seats do go back in a flatness that does, there's not much tilt to
down below,
where the seating is. So, you go back 25 rows, you're back, So, but that's a minor thing. I very much enjoy going there too. And the show that wrapped it up was Hart and Joan Jett, two not that similar acts, I guess, but in the same general. They're rock musician women. That's about the only thing that ties them together, I guess.
And they're all of them. Well, there's three, the Wilson sisters, and then Joan Jett. They stand out as. That was sort of the theme of my review, which will be up today. Is that they prove that women can do anything men can do in music. It's Joan Jett is very much into this punky pop metal, genre flavor, and she still carries it well. She can still do it. She doesn't look silly doing it by any means, and she does a lot of really good covers, and mostly covers. I'm a little surprised she still keeps doing with the Gary Glitter song. Do you want to touch me?
Right.
Considering why he's in jail.
Right.
But she still does it. And yeah, she does a Replacements cover that most people don't know, but everyone recognized it. So I enjoyed her set. And then the Wilsons are still, Ann Wilson can still throw her voice anywhere she wants. Like the second to last song they did was that song Alone, which is like one of the most powerful power ballads ever. And her voice was just stratospheric, and she was, I thought, on pitch and everything. And then Nancy Wilson, I think, is a underrated guitar player. Like, I don't think she gets enough credit for being as good as she is.
Besides that, how was the band, and how was Joan Jett's band?
Oh, they were great. Yeah, they were. I mean, they do the same set every night. So, but they did not look bored at all. I mean, they were really, I think, pumped up by the size of the crowd. There were like 7,000 people there. I mean, it was almost sold out. I was surprised that many people were there because they've come through. Although Heart has been, they were disabled for a while because the sisters had this really nasty, a domestic violence incident split them. I think it was Ann's husband or boyfriend smacked Nancy's kid and charges were pressed, and they didn't speak to each other for a while. And I think Ann even toured solo at least once because I saw her. So, but they've mended that. I'm sure money was a motivation. But and I think this is their first tour since. So they probably why they seem pretty energized and enthusiastic. It was all good. Yeah.
When we speak of, women in rock music, we talk to, we've been talking about country music. There's a real assertion, I think, by female artists who seem to be getting the short end of the shrift as far as radio play and things like that. And I think when they do have a platform, they kind of use it. Where do we think the state of women in rock music is right now?
Well, I mean, popular music, it's great. I mean, there are plenty. I mean, you go into R&B and hip-hop and just pop music in general. You got that. Billie Eilish is a major star now. So, yeah, it's way different in other genres than it is in country. And, going back to the country music documentary, that's something they never got into either, really, was how it is now and how it has regressed, profoundly since the way it used to be.
When how long do you think that you talked about legacy bands, and many of them are from the late 70s, early 80s. Are we tipping to another era? But I think there's a lot of for instance, there's a station on satellite radio that is called Pop Rocks. It's quite a good station, actually, but that's more 90s oriented. So do you think we'll start to maybe morph more into that, and the Hearts and the Joan Jetts may have about played it out, or do you think they still will have their place?
Last night, I don't think they played it out. I mean, plus there were, kids. I mean, like people in their teens and 20s there last night. Not a lot, but they were there because either they hear it through their parents or they hear it. I don't know how on radio or whatever
commercials,
yeah. So, and that's like that at pretty much every show I go to, no matter how old the band is. There's always another generation there. Probably not enough to sustain it once, we go away. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how long you can do it. But as long as you're capable, why not?
Right.
Because both of those acts last night were fine.
Right. I guess that's, between the fact that I think people in general take care of themselves better, maybe even musicians do, the technical aspect of it, there is a certain standard that is expected, that I think that if you can't make that standard, you're not going to be able to perform.
Right.
I think we used to put up with quite a bit more sloppiness in general in rock music, I would say.
Well, I mean, unless, you want to be like B.B. King and just do it till you die, and despite the fact that you probably should have stopped 5 years earlier, but as long as you're selling tickets, and you've got, they have a business to keep alive too. They have, managers and road crew and all that stuff. I remember I was talking to someone, I think it was in Rascal Flatts, and I was asking them why they come around so much. Like, isn't that, you're playing to smaller crowds? And he goes, yeah, but we got people to employ. That's part of the reason we're not selling as many records. So we got to pay bills and help people pay bills too.
Yeah. I mean, you don't make any money virtually now, except if you're maybe at the absolute stratosphere on recorded sales.
Taylor Swift and
right,
Adele, but few people make substantial money selling records. Most music is streamed now, and you get pennies on the dollar for that.
Yeah, and also, for instance, you can see the value of it or the lack of value in it. Normally now, if you buy a ticket to a fairly high-level concert, and if they're touring in support of a new record, whether it's going to sell a lot or not, they give it to you.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Generally, yeah.
That's pretty common now, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a way to artificially inflate your sales, but whatever.
Right, that's true as well. So a season ends at Starlight, and where did that, because that's such a unique size and everything else, does that in the winter months, is that you just makes the Sprint Center smaller? Is that basically the only alternative at that point in time, because you can't make the Midland bigger, for instance?
Right, you can't. That happens. I've been to shows at the Sprint Center where they've just closed off the entire top level, so that brings the capacity down to about Starlight size, maybe a little bigger, but certainly if the bottom's full and the top is closed off, it doesn't look bad.
Right.
But and it's also I guess it depends on bands will tour, in the summer for that reason. And they don't always book shows from October till, I don't know. It's open as early as April. So
and people are generally, I think, more in the mood for it. The weather's good.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to get snow on the night of the. I was wondering, are you at all surprised or is there an appetite for? It looks like they may be building one. It doesn't seem like Silverstein Arena, as it's called now. That can be about a 6,000 seat venue for music, and it's not really used very much.
They don't do as many shows as they used to. They have a couple coming up. I think the 98.9 is doing their Halloween show there with Godsmack. I see a lot of hard rock shows there, booked there. Yeah, I'm a little surprised that it's not used more, but maybe it will. Maybe that's because they're Starlight and bands and promoters would rather use Starlight.
And they play a lot of hockey there in the winter, so maybe their dates aren't ideal. Yeah. So I don't know. And supposedly a venue of about that size is going to be built in Johnson County. There's a couple different groups vying for it, so maybe that kind of fills that void. But it would seem to me if you aren't selling out an arena-sized or having enough people to go to an arena, then probably selling out the Midland is a better alternative than trying to sell 5,300 seats in a 7,000 seat arena. I mean, you just charge a little more and sell the place out, and it looks better and whatever.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot that goes into where a show's booked. Like the people who run the Midland also manage the Truman, and so they, depending on expectations, or maybe they book a show at the Midland and ticket sales aren't what they thought they were going to be, so they'll shift it over to the Truman, which holds like 1,400, and the Midland holds almost 3,000. So there's that. It's speculation a lot. You're expecting you're going to sell at least 2/3 of the seats at least, and then if you don't, you're either stuck with an attended show, or sometimes you move it. I've seen shows move from the Truman to the Record Bar, which holds 400, because they're like, whoops.
Right.
We overestimated what this would sell.
And would they do that because it's just more expensive to open up a big venue?
Yeah, and they want it to look better. Yeah.
Right.
It's both, yeah.
Well, let's talk about some of the shows that will be coming up in the next week or so with Tim Finn. As he mentioned, his review of Hart and Joan Jett will be up today on In Kansas City magazine, where you see his great work and you get previews of shows that are upcoming as well to fill out your musical calendar now as we move almost completely indoors as far as concerts are concerned, as we continue on Arts and Lifestyle Wednesday, presented by the Exit Room of Lee's Summit and Danny and Tim's Music Scene.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this. For many people, a family law case will be one of the most difficult experiences in their life. The law firm of Kenneth McRae will help you through it. Personal and effective help from Ken in concert with you will develop a unique strategy for your unique case. As Ken always says, divorce can be civil law, not civil war. Licensed in Kansas? Visit McRaeLawOffice.com or call 913-972-4765.
We're here with Joe Spiker, the president of Easton Roofing. And Joe, you worked for other companies in the construction industry. What inspired you to start your own company in Easton Roofing?
Well, you know, Danny, when you are working for somebody else, you oftentimes don't get to see the project through from beginning to end, and you don't get the final control over the customer experience. And I wanted to build a place where people can come and get work done on their house and not have to worry about being treated the wrong way and get a good customer service experience start to finish.
The company slogan is "Where Integrity Matters." Why is that so particularly important to you?
Well, for us, what that means is treating each other with respect at work, treating our clients with respect, and making the right choice, especially when no one's looking. So when you're presented all the time as a contractor with choices that have to be made, are you going to make more money on this if you cut a corner? And we just wanted to make a place and a slogan that said to our people and to whoever is our customer, we're not going to do that. We're going to make the right choice regardless of profit.
Easton Roofing, where integrity matters.
There's no need to get a case of the Mondays every week, not during football season anyway. Hey, this is Matt Llewellyn from the 23rd Street Brewery, and we are the place for Monday Night Football. Food and drink specials every week, and all new televisions always at 23rd Street Brewery. The hardest thing about Mondays now will be getting through the workday, although waking up on Tuesdays might be a little bit tough. But remember, watch all the Chiefs games, NFL games, every game at the 23rd Street Brewery.
Sumner One is the company to make your office maximize efficiency. Their family of companies make up one of the largest independent dealers of office technology in the Midwest. They are proud to bring the best service and technology to top companies across the region. Sumner One can help your organization run more smoothly than ever. Sumner One printers, copiers, MFPs, managed print services, document management, infrastructure design, IT services, disaster recovery, and business continuity. Welcome to the one place where everything works. For more information, call Carl Little at 913-752-2256. Back with Tim Finn. We talk to him every other week about the music scene, and it's always an enjoyable venture, to say the least, for me, and I'm sure for you, because that's why you're listening right now. And you can enjoy his work in Kansas City Magazine and hear him on Thursdays with John Hart on 90.9 The Bridge. Also, well, you got to act fast, but tonight at the Kauffman Center, 3 diverse and great instrumental masters will be performing. The Kauffman Center really is a busy place, man. They do a lot of things there over a wide variety of genres, and they certainly are not lacking for traffic in that building.
No, and it's a fantastic place to see a show if you haven't been there. Yeah, they have Bela Fleck, Edgar Meyer, and Zakir Hussain are there. Bela plays the banjo, Edgar plays the bass, and Zakir plays the tabla. He's Indian descent, and they're all masters, and they fuse a lot of genres, starting with bluegrass and like jazzy bluegrass and fusion jazz and some world music. So it's all instrumental, but these are 3 of the best musicians in the world on their instruments. So it'll be a fabulous show. And
the acoustics there are good. The surroundings are nice. I mean, you feel like you're at something important when you're at the Kauffman Center.
Right. I always feel underdressed when I go there. But yeah, I've been to some of my favorite shows ever I've seen there.
I've seen mostly more classical-oriented shows there, but a couple of other ones. And, of course, you're never going to feel underdressed at Knuckleheads.
No, you can feel overdressed.
You can feel overdressed pretty easily, but a very comfortable venue and a wonderful venue that does so many things now. Talk about a lot of traffic, and then 4 or 5 venues they have there now. And tomorrow will be John McKuen and the String Wizards. I don't know if I've ever seen a more well-preserved looking man than John McKuen. He's pretty old now and in his 6th decade of playing as the founder of the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, founding member of the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, and he's in the American Banjo Museum Hall of Fame. The banjo is an enduring instrument that seems to, could I say, have had a revival recently?
I don't think it's perceived as what it used to be perceived, like just like a hillbilly thing,
right?
Probably thanks to Deliverance, as much as anything. But yeah, he's well, you talk about two people who play the instrument differently, Bela Fleck and John McKuen. He's more of the country traditional Appalachian banjo player, but he's fabulous. He plays a bunch of instruments. Yeah, he's a guy that's just he's sort of an. I mean, I think he deserves to be iconic, but I don't think he is. I think people kind of forget about him and what he's contributed to.
He was featured some in the country
thing,
was. Which I think for those artists, like Marty Stewart, I imagine, I was my wife's on the board of the Folly Theater, and we've seen Marty twice at the Folly, and I didn't see the Birds one, and I'm thinking to myself, well, after that thing comes out, he's price probably going up, right. Venue's probably going up. I would think that would be very good for his career, but maybe that it will be the case for John McKuen, and he'll be playing with the String Wizards, and certainly that one of America's most important recordings, Will the Circle Be Unbroken, which was featured quite heavily in the, it was sort of the arcing theme of that Ken Burns documentary.
Right. Yeah. Well, this show is a tribute to that record, and one of his bandmates was also a founding member of the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band.
Les Thompson.
Yeah, bass player. So should be just a great show. I mean, that album is worth listening to in its entirety anytime. So, and I'm sure that's what they'll do, plus some other stuff. But if you like that, if you like the documentary and you like that record, go. It'll be fabulous.
No doubt about that. And I don't know if I've been around an artist or been familiar with an artist locally who creates such evangelical feelings as Samantha Fish. I think when people like Samantha Fish, they want to tell you about her. They want to demand that you go see her. They want to take you to go see her. And then she's created that kind of thing, and now it's just morphing into greater exposure for her.
Right. She's a national star right now. It may be international because she plays over in Europe. She lives in New Orleans. She moved there a few years ago, bought a house, and that has really changed her musically, just the music environment down there. She's got I think she has horns in her band now. She's not just a blues artist by any stretch. In fact, I think blues is just a slight part of her repertoire now, but she's become a really gifted songwriter. She sings really well, and she can play the guitar as good as anybody. There's a video out there on YouTube of she joined Buddy Guy on stage. Been a few months, and they were just going back and forth. He was doing something, and she played back, and then she went into this riff that flabbergasted him. He just put his hands up and walked away. He's like, "All right, I'm out." And she was like sheepishly going, "Oh," but she can do things on the guitar that are unexpected, and she stays fresh. I know she practices, religiously, and keeps trying to get better and do new things. Her records are different from one to the next. She never repeats herself. So, she's. I keep waiting for her to be on like Saturday Night Live or one of the nighttime, late night shows. And she's on Rounder Records, which is a big move. It's a substantial move, and they will. I think they will just propel her even further into the limelight.
I think that, part of her appeal at the outset, for sure, was the fact that she's attractive. And I think sometimes when an artist is in that category, they maybe even try even harder to say, hey, I'm not just becoming famous because I look good.
Right.
I think there's a part of that.
Well, actually, she got with a stylist, and they said, well, don't downplay that.
Right.
Play it up.
Right.
Do this to your hair. Do this to your makeup. Dress this way. Flaunt it. People are going to.
They think you look good anyway.
Right. And you'll prove that you're more than that with your guitar, and she does that. So yeah, she's the complete package. She looks great. She sounds great, and she plays fabulously.
Well, sort of in that category, although he doesn't play an instrument except for his voice generally, is Hugh Jackman. And, when somebody first comes on the scene as an actor and you don't really know their background at all, I had no clue that Hugh Jackman was musically oriented, and then he did the Academy Awards. And I frankly think he's one of those people who should be the host on a regular basis. Yeah, but he's coming to the Sprint Center. And what have you heard about the kind of shows he does?
It's very showmanship. Like he sings, he dances. He won a Tony Award, so
right. Yes,
he's very so he can sing really well. He's got a lot of charisma. He can tell good, funny stories, and he can dance really well too. So, he is. It's going to be multifaceted, and he'll have a big band with him, and. Yeah, it's just going to be like an old time, like part Broadway show,
right?
Part vocal concert.
I interviewed him once at the Super Bowl, and he seems extremely down to earth person. I don't know if have you ever interviewed him?
No, I've seen him on shows though. He seems really genuine.
Yeah, it was when he was going to do that robot boxer film, and Sugar Ray Leonard was there too. So I don't know. We talked about Canadians a lot. Australians kind of seem to fit into the same category where they're
that accent doesn't hurt,
and they seem like a down to earth bunch. But I'm looking at your preview of the show, and he includes Thunderstruck in his show. I wonder how the heck he does that. That's almost entirely a musical piece, really. It's not even a song per se, but
and he does Earth, Wind & Fire September too. So I have not heard his versions of them, but I bet they're pretty dynamic.
It sounds very interesting as well. And what can we expect over the weekend from Ensemble Iberica? Presents Nadia. Sounds interesting to me, even though I just butchered the entire pronunciation of the whole thing.
No, yes. So it's at this theater in Crown Center. It used to be a movie theater. They turned it into a performance venue, live performance venue. And so they brought in this vocalist who from Argentina who's fabulous. I know Bo Bledsoe is the guy who's behind the show, and he's in the band. He's a fabulous guitar player, and he is steeped in the music of Argentina and other world music. He's also in a really good country band, so he's super diverse. But yeah, he just told me that he met her when he was over there or down there, and has been wanting to get her up here to play with his ensemble. And it'll all be in Portuguese or Spanish, I guess. And but the music is just absolutely gorgeous, beautiful. You listen. I mean, the place will be deathly silent.
Right.
You'll be able to hear every pluck of every string and every note she sings. And it's just some of the most beautiful music I've ever heard. I've seen the ensemble play, not with her, but and there are 2 nights, so you have 2 chances to go see it. It will be like nothing else in town that night.
That's great. That's a great recommendation. It's the kind of thing that we get from you and in Kansas City Magazine, things you would never, you just wouldn't stumble upon, things like that. And that's why it's great that we're able to expose things like that and enrich your musical heritage, folks.
Yep. Expand your horizons.
There you go. Thanks as usual, Tim.
Thanks, Danny.
This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like Easton Roofing, the presenting sponsor of Kansas City Profiles at the Danny Klingscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Klingscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new.